So I've got the KTM balanced up on the new paddock stand here. Is there something I've got to have a look and do? Now, it thinks we've got no fuel. That's about what it was reading when I took the tank off to change the spark plug. I just thought the bike had really bad economy. Turns out the tank was still about half full. Now, apparently, the little fuel sensor inside the tank gets stuck. What can happen when a bike sits around is it can get gummed up with old fuel. Basically, I'm just gonna try and have a look inside the tank, see if I can't give the float a bit of a wiggle and see if we can't get it to unstick. Now, obviously we can't do anything from there, so we're gonna go ahead and take this whole thing off. Now, you don't need to undo every single bolt there. It's just 1, 2 and 3. So with these 3 bolts undone, all we should have to do is unlock the tank. Okay, there's still a bit of still a few threads on the front one there, but that whole thing just lifts off. There is definitely still a half a tank of fuel in there. And I really can't see the sender. I sincerely hope that I don't have to take the whole neck out, because this is a pain in the ass. I don't want to take the whole thing off again. Oh well, let's just do it. While we're here, one of the jobs I've been meaning to get to is raising the idle. There is the idle adjustment screw. As you can see, or I don't know, can you even? Probably not. Let's try and get you in there where you can see. Well, the frame's in the way, I can see, but under here, this is the throttle valve here. Now, I've already confirmed that this grub screw turns, so it's not Loctited in. So we're going to wind that in to raise the idle. Now, we're going to do it properly. We're not just going to eyeball it. We've got that plugged in, and what we're going to do, absolute throttle position is sitting at 11%, and that's what we want to look at here. Basically, I'm not going to film this because I need 2 hands, but I'm going to adjust that and I want to raise that by 2%. So I want that sitting at 13. What I'm hoping is that that will raise the idle. Obviously, I can't do that with the engine warm because I'll burn the shit out of myself. And I've got to take some free play out of that throttle cable. When you turn hard right, it revs up. So a couple of jobs we have to do today. As you can see, I've raised it from 11 to 12.9. It sort of jumps up from there to 13.3, so less is probably more at this point. Really, there's nothing to do but to warm the bike up, see how it sounds, see if it stalls, let it cool down, and raise it again. Once the bike's warm, I'll be able to take the slack out of, put some slack into that throttle cable. Basically, the plan is pretty simple. I'm going to let it warm up while I start ripping panels off again to take this cover off. So, that's because the battery's low. See, it thinks we have low fuel level. And of course, here is our throttle cable adjustment. Let me see if I can show you this party trick. You've got to be careful here because it is on the stand. It's not too bad actually. Probably not a good idea to go swinging the front wheel around while it's up on the paddock stand anyway. But the bike's just stalled, which means I need to crack the idle screw a little bit more. We'll go for 14%, but not yet because I've got to wait for that exhaust to cool right down first. Well, the tank cover is off. It's not so bad. I think the first time taking it off is the worst. It's time consuming and it's a bit fiddly, but once you know what you're doing, it's not such a big deal to get in there. So we're going to undo 1, 2, 3, 4 and try and remove this assembly to give us better access to the tank. And because I'm paranoid about dropping things in there, we're going to put a fuse in there. Right, with those 4 bolts removed, this just lifts away. I should be able to see in there. Now obviously the camera is not going to be able to see shit, So I'm going to go and get a better light and see if I can't figure out what I'm poking at down there. To be perfectly fair, there is substantially less fuel in there, enough to warrant a low fuel light at any rate. I gave the thing a bit of a wiggle. It works well enough for me, I guess. Didn't really fix anything, didn't really solve anything either, but at least that's one more thing I can write off the list. Basically, the fuel gauge works, it runs low earlier than it should. Maybe that float bowl needs a bending down or something like that, but so long as next time I fill up again it shows full on the fuel gauge, I'll be happy. So I'll go ahead and button this back up, and then hopefully by the time that's all back together, it will be cool enough for me to get back to work on the idle. Alright, so I've adjusted the idle position up to 14.5%. That should be enough, but we won't know until we try, and I think that's probably about the limit I can do without stripping the whole throttle body off, because I think I'm starting to round out either the head of my... No, that's fine. Can we see? Yeah. It's starting to look a little bit shitty and chewed out, unfortunately. This is where our cold start idle's at. I can definitely hear the difference in the idle speed. I wouldn't want to adjust it much more than that anyway, but I think we'll just let it warm up and do its thing. Beyond this, I don't think there's anything else I can do unless I want to spend $300 or $400 on a new throttle body, which I'm not doing that. I just poured in maybe 2 or 3 litres tops from a jerry can. Basically, I know that if I go by this fuel gauge, I'm never going to run out of fuel. But I also know that by the time it's screaming at me 0 k's till empty, I've got at least 2 litres in the tank. So, you know, not for nothing. I didn't fix anything, but I didn't make anything worse. As for the idling though, it's still stalling. And I've got that idle circuit cracked open at 14.5%. And I can't adjust it anymore because I can't get my tool in there properly, and the head of the grub screw is starting to get chewed out. It's not stalling as frequently as what it was. Maybe it is a timing issue. I don't even want to think about that. There we go. I don't even want to think about that though, because I can't get that. I can't do anything about that. Oh well, that'll do it for now. There's not much else I can really do. I'm really annoyed that it's still stalling. I'm running out of ideas. It still runs alright, it runs beautifully. It's just that stalling that's the problem. I better put it away for now because I don't have time to go for a ride today, which is disappointing.